being here. You're here to talk about Geek Apocalypse, which is a new thing that you're working on. And for people that don't know anything about it, could you just explain a little bit what Geek Apocalypse is about?
Well, obviously, the reason that I started doing it was for the podcast, because one of the things, as I briefly mentioned this earlier, that I wanted to do, I did a show which was more radio orientated, as in I played music and all that kind of thing. The problem with me, and I know you know me fairly well, so you know this is a major problem for me, is that I find it really difficult to like kind of just go, and now we're going to play it. I just get too bored, like, and I'm like, oh, so this next song is, and it sounds weird to say this from a music point of view, but there's an element of when I was playing music that like I really wanted people to appreciate what music I was playing, because I find music very personal, and I play my own music. So there's all sorts of other reasons than that, but mainly I was getting bored with playing music during shows. So, and I found myself, like, for example, this happened during the interview I did with you, one of the old interviews I did with you and Jess, was during the interview I realised I really didn't want to stop the conversation, and I found myself going, oh, we must stop because we've got to play a song. And I found myself really frustrated by that, and I thought, well, if I'm setting this up and I put my own money in and I'm doing it this way and it's got a geek slant on things, why don't I give people the time they need to actually like get to know somebody? Because not to say that the sort of conventional interviews are bad. I watch a lot of them, and some of them are great. But the downside, I think, of most of the interviews I've seen now is the person who's interviewing, you can tell 90% of the time that they've got no interest in what it is that they're doing. And to go back earlier as to why I think geek's such an important angle is because I think I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I think my best attributes that's helped me most during anything that I've done in my life is my curiosity and my interest. Like I have interest beyond measure. Like I'm intrigued with a lot of the stuff. You know, I'm one of these people that when I watch a program, I spend more time on Wikipedia reading about it than I do actually watching it. Like I'm like going, oh, he was in such and such, and I'm reading it and I'm finding out more information about the person and about the program and how it was made and where it was made. I'm like one of those people.
So you're like a sponge that just absorbs information.
I get borderline obsessed depending on what it is. Like if it's something I really care about, and I'm reading about loads of it, and I can't stop reading. Like I'm in the stage of like I'm reading everything about Richard Dawkins at the minute. It's brilliant, and so that's my current rotor.
So that's why you keep phoning me all the time.
yeah. What are you up to now, Robbie? Reading Richard Dawkins. But no, so in terms of the format for the podcast, it's at least an hour. I mean, roughly, I'm averaging now. I've done 10 now. And I'm roughly averaging about an hour and 20 minutes, I think. Roughly.
So Geek Apocalypse is mainly interviewing people.
The thing is it's funny you say interview, because I always say to people it's a conversation really, because it's very rare that I actually ask a stand-up question. And as people know, and you've been on, you were kind enough to be on the first one, was I don't have any questions in front of me because I want it to be I'm pleased to say, and I'm saying this isn't the format for everyone. You don't have to do it this way. But I always quote Larry King when Larry King says the best advice he's ever give people is to do what suits you. So if you work better with having questions in front of you, then feel free to do it. But my format is I'm less interested when I'm reading off a sheet.
Right.
So my format is I just want to get to know somebody, and I think if you don't know them, you're more interested to find out. Like I'm a huge fan of Craig Ferguson from America, and he said in an interview I watched literally yesterday, where he said that if you go on and are promoting a film, for example, if you go on and the person's already seen the film, he's less interested to talk to you about it. If I don't see the film. But usually what happens in interviews is that they ask us research to watch the film before they see it. So if you've already seen it and you go, I love that scene you did, you're not really promoting the film very well, because you actually if you're convincing the interviewer to go to your film, it's much more likely you're going to get people. If it works on the interviewer, it's going to work on the people who are
And For the future, ideas for the future for Geek Apocalypse, what ideas have you got planned?
Yeah, well, as I'm sure you'll understand, it's a really ongoing thing. I mean, like as I say, I think the first podcast, especially on iTunes, came out in like the 27th of March.
Right.
So we've roughly just hit about a month now of thinking, and it's going really well. I've had thousands of listeners. The idea is just to keep getting people more interested in it. Because the way these things work, the only way like it makes it a viable sort of business opportunity is that people consistently, listen to it. So that's the sort of remit. Like it seems based on what I can gather through the information I've got, that people are just regularly. There's a fair amount of people regularly listening to it, which is great. But obviously, I need to increase the market in that sense. So doing stuff like this, going to other markets is in terms of the business side of things, that's what I need to keep doing more of. And in terms of the future, in terms of content, as I say, we have a YouTube channel that I would like to do more stuff on. I'd like to get more people interested in doing it, because the only real thing that happens there every couple of weeks, I do a board game show where I review a board game. So I've done a couple of them. The next one's due out this weekend, which will be after you've seen this, but so it'll be on the YouTube now. But one of the things I'm going to do, if people can't do podcasting, like for example, I'm going to the Red Dwarf convention in a couple of days, which I already would have went to when you see this. But if I do 10-minute, I want to do 10-minute interviews where like people, because what we're listening to a podcast is an hour and a bit long, and a lot of people just watch a little bit of it and come back to it.
Yeah.
So which I know that I listen to loads of podcasts, and that's how I work. Like I go to work, listen to 20 minutes of it, and I listen to the rest when I go home. So my idea is to kind of condense that and do 10-minute interviews on YouTube. So for example, I imagine with the Red Dwarf convention, the limited time they have, I'll probably get 10-minute interviews. So I'm going to do interviews on YouTube, but I want to do original content. And the feature is, as well as I want to do like, I have this idea of a web series, which I know we'll talk to a little bit more detail in a little bit, but there's a web series idea that I've got. I'm just getting more people to contribute in it, no matter who they are and whatever idea they got. But I think the idea, if you collaborate it together and you Geek Apocalypse as a name and a brand, I think it makes more sense, because then they're going to get more people viewing it and interested in it. So that's kind of the idea. In terms of the podcast and live events, really what I want to do. Right. I want to do live podcasts and get actual audience participation. But that's like, I've currently done 10. I think with the remit is, I don't really know what number I want to do. I mean, I'd like to do it now. Honestly, I'd love to just go, I could just get 500 people to come to my podcast and listen to it. I'm like, but realistically, that's not going to happen. Yeah. Because I know through my server, I've put the shows, that there's a wide audience, like a worldwide audience. I'm not saying loads of people listen to it, but I'm saying it's not all confined to the UK, and especially this region. It's all over. So, I've got to be realistic and think that might not happen. So and it needs to grow, because it means only had a month to actually trading, company jargon, trading. So maybe it's 50 maybe, which would roughly be a year of me doing it. I think then I can start doing live shows. I think that's really